Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sweatable podcast. My name is Brooks Herbis, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you simplify and make sense out of the all too confusing fitness and nutrition industry. Let's be real, there's a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change. But I'll also be sharing real-life practical application because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can actually apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in. About psychology and long-term behavior change because I just got off of my monthly group call with my health mindset alumni, my health mindset certification alumni group. And that not just continued education to help me be a better coach, but getting yourself in a room of people who make you want to be a better version of yourself can be really, really helpful. And we talk on those calls a lot about how to continue to, harness behavior change tools and methods that are backed by science and psychology to ultimately help you be a better coach. So I'm super excited to bring a lot of the different topics that we talk about to my coaching practices, and then also give you guys, honestly, some of the information that we talk about in these podcasts as well. Today is not related to something we were talking about, but it is related to a behavior change topic. And we're talking all about the type of motivation that actually fuels fat loss. And not just fuels fat loss, but fuels fat loss that lasts. And we have talked about this topic. I've kind of hinted at it and I've dropped little nuggets about it on the podcast before, but it is such a determining factor in whether or not you reach your health and fitness goals, and not just whether or not you reach them, but whether or not you maintain these habits forever, that it really deserved its own episode. And if you are someone who feels like the goals that you set right now are things like, I want to lose 10 pounds, I want to fit in this type of clothing, I want to get fit for my wedding, and I want to get fit for this vacation, but you find yourself consistently not really caring in the moment, you find yourself always kind of going towards that short-term satisfaction, you find yourself always going for the drive-through, the drink, especially when you're tired, when you're at brunch with your friends, when you're stressed, this episode is for you. And I want to be clear, those types of motivators, I want to lose 10 pounds, I want to look good for my wedding, those aren't quote unquote bad. Not at all. That is not what I'm saying here. But it's possible that if that is your only motivation right now, that's why it's feeling really hard to follow through in the moment, because there are two main types of motivation. And there's actually, they exist on an even larger continua. Yeah, that's right. But for the sake of not nerding out on the psychology with you guys, we're going to stick to just the basic two versions of this. And it is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation comes from outside sources. So that makes sense. External, think external validation, rewards, a lot of times appearance-based goals. When you're setting your health and fitness goals, if you're typically always thinking I want to look good for my vacation, I need to lose weight so I can fit into that dress. Even on a deeper level, things like I'm showing up for my workouts to make my coach proud, or I'm hitting my calories because I know my coach is watching. Those are all sneaky external motivators, and you might not even realize it because you might think, I hired a coach to hold me accountable. But if you are only holding yourself accountable because you hired a coach and because you want to make your coach proud, that's still an external motivation. You're not doing the things necessarily because they're important to you. You're doing them to make your coach proud. And then what happens when that coaching relationship is over? That is why with my clients, if I hear language like that, I'm doing this to make you proud, we then take it one step further, so that you're also building the type of motivation that I'm about to talk about, because I don't want you doing these things just because I'm watching you. I want you doing these things forever, which means that you need to learn how to show up for yourself and hold yourself accountable, even when I'm not there, even when I'm not watching you. So what type of motivation do we want to cultivate in addition to external motivation? It's something called intrinsic motivation. And this is motivation that is driven more by like internal values, your identity, how you want to feel. So examples of this would be more like, I want to have more energy to play with my kids. I want to feel strong and capable. I want to feel proud that I stuck to my goals. I like how I feel when I eat this way. They're all more tied to a deeper internal identity, value, belief, doing these things because of the process, almost because of who you're becoming, because of how it makes you feel. And again, extrinsic motivation, it's not bad. In fact, it can be a really great way to get started on your health goals. Maybe you're someone who has set a New Year's resolution to get healthy. And the main reason you do it is you want to look really good for spring break. That's a great way to get started. Or maybe you do hire the coach because you know you need that initial accountability. That's a great way to get started. Most people, I would say, initially start working on their health and fitness goals because they, or at least I shouldn't say most people, I should say most of the women who come to work with me, most of them start to work on health goals because you want to lose some weight, you want to feel more confident in your body, you want to look better in certain pieces of clothing, you want to make your coach proud. All of those are great to get the ball rolling. Those are great things to help you get started. But what you might not realize is that the research has shown that intrinsic motivation, so that internal validation that we talked about, actually leads to more long-term sustainable change. Quick intermission in this episode to let you know that from September 9th to 11th, I am hosting my free Fat Loss Forever Challenge, and I want you to join. In just 3 live mini trainings, I'll show you why healthy eating isn't working anymore, how to set up your life so that fat loss feels easier, and the real reason you can't follow through even when you know what to do. It is a super fun challenge. I only run it twice a year. You'll walk away with strategies you can start implementing immediately. It is totally free to join, and you can head to the show notes to grab your free spot. When you really think about it, this probably makes sense, because if you are only ever doing things for other people, for aesthetic reasons, that's not motivating in the moment. When you are sitting at the brunch table with your friends and they're offering you a big plate of cheese curds, and all week long you said, I am not having appetizers at happy hour. I don't want to eat these fried foods at happy hour. If your only goal is to lose 10 pounds and maybe you've had a drink and your friend presents you with those cheese curds, in the moment, those cheese curds feel way more important to you and way more valuable to you than losing 10 pounds. Like that 10-pound weight loss goal, that is so far in the future, and it feels like what you're doing in the moment isn't really impacting that all that much. So you don't really care. You're almost always going to opt for the cheese curds. Versus if your friend presents you with the cheese curds, and maybe you do have this goal to lose 10 pounds, but you've also been working with me, so you've been working on your intrinsic motivation. Your friend presents you with the cheese curds, and you say, you know what? I don't really like the way that I feel when I eat fried foods, and I feel so much better when I eat really healthy, and I like having more energy. And I know that I also all week said I didn't want to eat these, and I know that I feel really proud when I follow through with those goals. So I'm going to pass on those cheese curds. And it's that tiny shift. It's that shift away from, oh, this 10-pound weight loss goal that is really far in the future and I don't really care about it, versus how do I want to feel? How does eating in a way that makes me proud feel? How am I someone who makes myself proud, or am I someone who doesn't follow through? That shift between something that's like external, doesn't really feel like it's hitting home, feels really far in the future, as opposed to something that feels really important to you because it's a core value, because it's about how you feel. So if we're doing things that are tied to our identity, tied to our core value as a human, from a psychological perspective, that is like way more fulfilling. And it means that we're way more likely to stick to those things. That is why this is such a big part of my one-on-one coaching. And you might not even realize, if you're one of my clients, that we're doing this along the way. It's moving you from these extrinsic motivators of, I go to the gym to, because you told me to, or I am eating this way in order to, I'm eating this way in order to lose 10 pounds. Like, we need to shift away from that, only doing these things for aesthetic reasons, only doing these things for external validation, and start to think on that more intrinsic motivation. And when we can do that, when we're not as tied to these landmarks, these like timeline things like vacations, like the number on the scale, you're not relying on external pressures to reach your goals. And because of that, you're not falling into this all or nothing thinking as frequently as, okay, the scale isn't moving, so what's the point of doing this? Well, the point of doing this is that you feel better when you do it. The point of doing it is because you said that you are someone who wants to be strong, because you're now identifying as someone who wants to be healthier, who wants to feel good, who eats in a certain way, not, oh, well, the scale didn't move, so there's no point. And same thing for like long-term sustainable weight loss. How many times have you used this vacation as this landmark, this goal to completely change your habits? And then you get on the vacation, you completely go off the rails, and then you get home and you feel like you're starting over. Or you get home and you throw in the towel until you're a month out from your next vacation. You're in this like perpetual cycle of only doing these things when there is like a deadline, versus when we focus more on this intrinsic motivation, we're doing these things all the time because we like how they make us feel. We like the type of person that we are when we're working on these things. So it's really more about focusing on the process, our identity, our core health values, as opposed to just these external goals around fat loss, around aesthetic, around making yourself or someone else proud. So how can we cultivate this more? How can we cultivate more intrinsic motivation? My favorite thing to ask my clients is, when I hear a more extrinsic motivator, my favorite thing is to ask them, are there any other benefits to doing these behaviors besides the scale going down? And so what that might look like is, if you are like, well, the scale isn't moving, so like, why am I eating this way? Okay, why are you eating this way? Is there any other benefit to eating this way besides the scale going down? Maybe you're able to say, okay, yeah, actually, when I have like salad and protein, I feel really good. I have a lot more energy. Or, you know what? I really like that I'm setting a good example for my kids when I eat these foods. Like, ask yourself if there are any other benefits to doing these behaviors besides the scale going down. Do you like the way you feel after a healthy meal? Do you have more energy? Do you feel stronger? Do you like following through, making yourself proud? And then I also want you to think about what this weight loss means to you. So that external goal that you have, the 20 pounds down, what does losing 20 pounds mean? Why is it important to you? Is it about, because there's usually a deeper why. It's usually not just, I want to lose 20 pounds. It's usually, I want to lose 20 pounds to improve my health. I want to have a deeper self-confidence. I want to set a good example for my kids. I want to X, Y, and Z. What is that deeper reason behind that 20-pound weight loss goal? Really think about why that's important to you, and that's going to give you some of those core identities, core values, as opposed to just this extrinsic 20-pound goal. I also want you to think about, what is the type of person you want to become? What type of eater, what type of exerciser do you want to be long term? Because then in those moments where the 10-pound goal isn't feeling super motivated and you really want the cheese curds, you can think about that version of you. Okay, I'm trying to become someone who sticks to what I said I was going to do, or I'm trying to become someone who is okay with eating fried food in moderation, or I'm trying to become someone who doesn't eat food that upsets my stomach. Thinking about that deeper value is going to be a lot more motivating in the moment as opposed to just those external goals. So suddenly you might be able to imagine that it feels easier to do these things consistently because the action, the habits, the behaviors, they're in line with who you want to be, not just a number on the scale. You pass on the pizza after work because you're the type of person who eats meals that make you feel good. You go to the gym when you're tired because you know that it gives you more energy. Like, consistency feels so much easier when it's not just tied to a number on the scale. This is why it is so important to not try to fuel your weight loss journey long term with extrinsic motivation. And we really need to cultivate that intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic goals, great to get us started, but intrinsic motivation is what is actually going to keep you going. So if this is something that you've been struggling with, if you know you need more intrinsic motivation, but you're not sure how to go about cultivating it, this is my bread and butter. This is what I do all day long with my health and fitness clients. So if you're interested, apply in the bio, get your free strategy call booked so we can talk about pretty immediately what this shift would start to look like for you. But that is all I've got for you guys this week. Don't forget, I choose one person every single month to win a free personalized fat loss blueprint. So share this on your stories and tag me or leave a review. You guys are the biggest way that this podcast grows by sharing it with your friends, your family, and leaving reviews so the App Store knows that people are listening and like this podcast. So always appreciate your guys' support. If you have any questions on the different types of motivation, shoot me a DM. Let's nerd out on it together, and I will talk to you guys next week.